And here we are back again, and I have with me representatives from the Capital Region Theological Center. They've been on before, and they have an event coming up that looks rather interesting. It's a 2-day event, and we have Martha Reisner next to me, and she is the executive director, and next to her is Reverend Paul Blanche, and he is with St. George's Episcopal.
That's right.
In the Stockade. Yeah, so nice to see you both.
Thank you for having us.
The workshop looks really interesting. The evolutionary exploration of religion. Are we going to go back to Zeus?
I don't think quite that far. No, this course is taught by David Sloan Wilson, who is a professor at Binghamton.
Okay.
And this is his field of study. He is an evolutionary biologist, but he has taken evolutionary theory and applied it to a lot of other facets of human culture.
Okay.
To explain how different religions, why do we have so many different religions, and how have they evolved in terms of right along with the culture, how do the culture and evolutionary ideas influence each other, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And I, in a way, I wasn't really kidding about Zeus, because that was, that's, you talk about the ancient, Egyptians and the Greeks and the Romans, and everybody seemed to have something that they were looking up to. Reverend, tell us how that all happens.
Well, it's been interesting for me coming from the United Kingdom to work in Schenectady and finding the Capital Region Theological Center, which was just like a great...
A ray of sunshine, wasn't
absolutely. Especially when I think a lot of people hear the word religion and have very, fixed views and understandings, very formal, and sometimes bad experiences of religion. And I think, one of the things that this poster says about evolutionary exploration of religion is that, most people in America agree that religion, as we know it, is changing. Change. How many Episcopalians does it take to change a light bulb, Well,
how many does it take?
Well, usually one, and the rest of us mix the drinks. But, or the cocktails.
That wouldn't be the Baptists, I know that.
But that shows there's that huge difference in the way we understand. And also, I think the fact that religions that don't change actually become extinct.
Yeah.
And most of us, I've been in ministry 28, nearly 30 years, and that is a fear. You see churches emptying. I had a conversation when we came into the studio today that, where I've come from in the United Kingdom and in Europe, the church is in a different place to what it is in this country. And there is a kind of an evolutionary process going on. And I think we are sort of slightly down the road in England, where less than 2.7% of the people of the whole country go to any church on Sunday.
Church at all.
Any church at all. So,
and yet you have a national religion.
We have the Church of England, which is I'm ordained in, which is the Episcopal. Yeah. And that doesn't guarantee us anything.
No, absolutely not.
I think what I hear is, certainly from old and young alike, big questions about what does religion mean to them, where is it going? Capital Region Theological Center exists to educate. Mm-hmm. And not to educate in that kind of didactic way of saying this is what it's going to be, but actually, what do you feel? What are your questions? And the questions that people are asking are the most important questions to us in CRTC. It's no use running courses that nobody's asking the question for. Mm-hmm. And I think the Sloan Wilson thing is exciting because he's coming from this background, as Martha says, of outside of religion, but using what he's got into applying that. And I think we need to learn some valuable lessons.
Now,
the church needs to be accountable.
Yeah, and would you expect an atheist to join this group? Would
Absolutely.
They learn anything?
I think absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we want to have the different voices at the table and part of the discussion. That's what makes those are the people that are asking.
I'm just asking,
right,
open a question out there.
If people want to come and ask the questions, we want them to come.
Well, it's interesting what you said, Reverend, because if you've followed, I'm sure you followed the religious news, but you look at the new Pope and talk about a change in attitude. I find it very, very refreshing. Yeah. Because to be so staid and stoic, and you just don't allow for anything. And earlier, before the show, we talked about how some religions just are so. Can I use the word bigoted or prejudiced? I think that's a good word to use because I just want to, gag every time I hear some of these so-called ministers that profess Christianity that haven't read the Bible, obviously. It's
Or read it very selectively.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the church has to be accountable, as I said before, and anybody can come and ask the questions. I mean, because the questions that the church need to hear are not the questions the church is asking of itself.
You know, not your own chorus.
And therefore, I think this evolutionary exploration takes us to places. We live in a world that is informed by science, and yet I meet Christians here in my own diocese who are creationists, who say, oh no, the world was created in 6 days. God had the day off.
6,000 years ago?
And you know, I have someone in my
Right.
congregation who told me that when she asked her pastor as a young girl, well, how do you account for the dinosaurs and dinosaur bones? Oh, the devil put them there to put you off the track.
Throw you off track.
You know, and so we're up against that kind of closed-mindedness. And the God I worship is a God who's big enough to take my questions.
Yeah.
And CRTC, I think, boldly goes into that place where we encourage the questions, and we try to get the best fit with the specialists in our field to come and answer those questions honestly, intelligently, and often with great fun and excitement.
Right.
So religion does not have to be boring.
That's right.
No, it
That's
doesn't.
right.
I had a cousin who was a priest, of course, and he would, you know, we'd say, well, what about, 6 days? How did that work? And he says, well, nobody ever said how long a day was. Could have been, 2 million years, 10 million years, who knows? And I thought, as growing up, I felt that I was blessed in a way to have an open dialogue about this. And I think in a way that's what you're trying to do.
That's exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Paul is on our education committee, and so he's one of a number of people who work very hard to figure out what are the questions being asked and how can we address them with our education courses and our other services. So on our education committee, as well as on other parts of our organization, we have representatives of a number of different denominations, and our doors are open to people of every faith group or no group at all. And we have had that philosophy from the beginning, and I think it's even more important now than it's ever been.
So you're trying to be ecumenical about all of this.
Absolutely.
So that we certainly have a dialogue between religions. What do you do with a religion that says, if you don't believe what I believe, then you're going to go to hell or something? I mean, do people come to you with that mindset? I mean, because I don't know how you talk to them.
We keep the door open.
Okay.
We invite people to come and be part of the conversation.
Okay. And they're probably not going to come if they're real.
Yes, I suspect we don't have very many people who come. And from the comments and the conversations that we have heard over the years, we don't have a lot of people who come in with a very
Fixed.
with a closed mind.
Closed
I should
mind,
say.
yeah. And of course, I mean, nobody really knows a lot about. I mean, we know what we hear about religion, and every religion professes something different. And I guess people gravitate to whatever they want to believe. I mean, it's not so much what someone tells them. They go, yeah, I agree with that or that or that, and then they go there. How do you see that religion has evolved since, you said you've been here a few years, and I mean, do you see how it's changed? I know the Catholic Church has gotten, a rock band in there, not a rock band, but folk music. I went to an evangelical church out in Denver one, and I mean, I couldn't believe this was nothing I had ever seen in church. So how do you see as an Episcopalian?
Well, I mean, the Episcopal tradition, the Anglican tradition, has always taken the middle ground. Scripture, tradition, but reason. So we do encourage people who've got questions. I think, there's a lot of religions that we don't ask questions because it's a given. Well, no, it isn't a given. God gave us intelligence, and I think the great thing about CRTC is it says, come and use your intellectual gifts and ask questions, be prepared to learn, and get the excitement and the buzz of what learning is all about. It's education thing. So I think we have to go there in that place and not proselytize, not say, it's about getting bums on pews anymore. It's about the dialogue and the theological enterprise of asking the questions. Most people that come up to me in St. George's Episcopal Church, our congregation's grown by about 100 odd people in the last 4 years, from Roman Catholic tradition, from evangelical traditions, and from none. But they're asking questions that they said they were not getting answers to. And they were being put down for even asking the question.
Yeah, see, that's...
Now that to me is a pretty awful situation
It's
to
a
be
put
in.
off
And,
and put you
that,
off.
does that say that the church is frightened to answer the questions?
Well, that's what you
So
kind of-
keep everybody under control.
Yeah.
No, it's not. We are saying ask the questions. Let's engage in the study and the excitement. And so, you know, the questions that I hear people asking are real questions today. But often those questions are about spiritual things, not the church, not the institution.
just-
Right.
Oh, and you mentioned Pope Francis. He's taking us back to us as beyond the institution to say that the love of God is much more important than institutional,
Yeah.
almost brainwashing.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think he's very refreshing when I hear some of the things he said. Please tell our audience just once more when this is and where it is, and then they'll come, hopefully.
April 25th and 26th
Okay.
at the Unitarian Universalist Society in Albany.
Albany.
That's a Friday and Saturday. And there is good parking in the area. And we also have scholarships available and group discounts available. The Golub Corporation, for example, the Golub Foundation has generously sponsored some scholarships for us to encourage people to come to our courses, to this one as well as others who might otherwise not be able to.
come.
So.
Okay, great. We've been talking with Martha Reisner. She's the executive director, and also with Reverend Paul Blanche. Blanche, I want to get that right.
Yep.